a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Speaking of welcoming back, my guests have both been on here once before, and I'm so pleased to have them back, Will Williams and Steve Weller. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just remind the audience, Will, if you wouldn't mind, what we spoke about the first time you were on.
We spoke about the television series that we are in the process of producing, Black Knights of the FBI. Our production company, Black Folk Motion Pictures, Black Folk Production, and how we came up with the idea of Black history movies.
Right. It's fantastic, by the way. Really is fantastic. I love the idea. So what's happened since you were on here?
Well, I mean, we have a dedicated sales agent now, and so we're basically discovering a whole bunch of the entertainment industry that previously we didn't really know about. And it's a whole new world, and it's a kind of a different parallel world. Finding funding, production deals, distribution, the things that when people in money people talk about, that I personally just go, that these are all vital things. We're sort of learning the part of the process where, you know, when they stand up at an awards ceremony and stand there and say, you know, we've spent 20 years getting this production to the, and you wonder how. Well, we're on the process of learning why that takes a long time.
Yeah, she just recently divulged that she is a grant writer. And she emailed us a couple of days ago and said that there was there might be some grant money available for development. And right away I said, well, we don't know how to do. She goes, don't worry, I've got this.
Nice.
I'm like, yes, this is awesome. So yeah, things are moving forward, which is really exciting. It's really exciting.
Very good. And I can imagine now as people, I'm hoping they respond the way I did when they find out about your ideas, because it is such a wonderful, different idea, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Well, it's trying to carve out some space in people's consciousness, because the world's a busy place and a lot of different things are going on. So you got to try and put it out there and put it in a place where people can see it. And even then you have to get everything together for when it does happen. Because you know when these shows hit, suddenly there's all sorts of other stuff that goes along with them, like merchandising and spin-offs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of pre-plan that stuff, not wait for it to hit and then try and desperately to catch up. So we're working on a lot of things. Currently, we're working on a novelization of part of the story.
Yes, actually the backstories of all the characters.
There's basically everybody's got a story to tell, and all of these people in this story have their own little backstories. So we hit upon the idea of possibly expanding those stories. We may not be able to fit them in the series, but that we can tell their stories and how they got there, because most of the people in the Black community in the story are struggling. Okay. You know, they have their life stories. These are all fictional stories, but within that, it's told against the backdrop of being Black in America in the 60s, in the South and the North, because this story actually happens in Chicago.
Yeah.
So the history of Chicago segregation and racism is somewhat different from what happened in the South.
Right.
And basically what we have done or tried to do is capture the feeling and the current events of that time in that area, surrounded by our story, or have our story surrounded by those particular events.
It's a fictional story, but our characters witness those historical events, which kind of helps you set where you are in time and space both.
Right. I think it's such a a critical time almost, I want to say. I'm not sure what to say, doing this in these times.
Yes.
Because even though there has been maybe some advancements, it's almost like some of it is even going backwards a little bit.
Yes.
More than a little.
You know, I was just watching the news this morning where in Florida, they are taking Black history out of the school.
Yeah, they're saying by teaching Black history, they're doing reverse racism. They're being racist against white people.
So this story that we have produced is something that, you know, it tells the truth. Even though the characters are fictional, it still happens.
Yeah.
We have, you know, documented the times and the trials and tribulations of that era, of that year, in our movie, in our show.
You don't have to go very far in searching video and audio and testimonials to realize how widespread it is. I mean, I can't begin as a middle-aged white guy to know what it's like to be in the street and to have a police car stop by you. For a Black person, how that feels. Because for me, I'm walking home in the alleyway and a cop car slows down and the guy says, how are you? And I'm saying, I'm fine. That's fine. His experience is different.
Right.
And we all know why. I can't remember who, but there was a sociologist who said to a white audience, stand up if you're okay with being treated with the way Black people in America are being treated, and nobody stood up. And she repeated the question 3 times. And she said, okay, that means that everybody here knows what's going on and is just ignoring it.
Right. You know, I heard that, I think this was on The View. I heard sometimes black women that have sons have to let them know that as they get older, like in the teenage, starting probably in their teenage,
talk.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What it might be like for them with the police.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's
comply.
It's
Comply. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Yeah.
Don't talk back. Oh yeah. We have to have that talk, because if we don't get that talk, we could end up dead.
Yeah, and you do. That's the problem. Yeah. You do often end up dead, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm really hoping that your series will help change some of that and wake. You know, it's getting the message. Obviously, the message doesn't need to get out to the Black people, right?
Right.
To the white people.
Yes, that's part of why I'm here, is because racism is a white issue.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones being racist.
Yes.
So we need to police ourselves. We don't always need to rely on the Black community to have to defend itself.
Yeah. And if we don't do something, we're part of the problem.
Yes.
Like you and I, right?
What is it? In order for evil to triumph, it is only necessary for good men to stand by and do nothing.
Yeah. It's such a sad world. But again, I'm just so pleased that you're doing this, and then hopefully that big name people with big names, you know, will hear about it and want to participate, whether it's financially or whatever it takes, right?
Yes. This is the hope, that once it gets out there, once we once our agent, she wants to take it to film festivals and introduce it at various film festivals. Well, once that happens, the people the movers and shakers that go to these festivals will get a chance to see this.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, just take it to the next level. You know, basically that's all we've been trying to do, is find qualified individuals that like this project, that know people that could say, hey, take a look at this. And then have them go, oh yeah, this is good. I think I'll show this to, and move it on up the line. And so far, so good. We've been connecting to the right people. Sometimes, like we spoke last time, you know, we, do run into brick walls, but on the whole, it's been pretty exciting. We've been meeting the right people, and it's been moving forward.
Wow, it is so cool. I'm so pleased to be, I'm so pleased that we connected so that I can even, I've heard about this and now hopefully, that I'll be able to continue as you guys move forward with it and more exciting things happen with it. You're going to have to come back on the show and let me know all the time so
Definitely.
we can get that out there to as many people as possible that can hear about it.
Yes. And we're also moving forward with the other full-length feature movie called The Eugene Bullard Story.
The
Okay.
best soldier America never had.
Yes.
Never had.
Right.
And that's sort of a war adventure story. I mean, I think people like Jordan Peele have demonstrated that you can tell stories of Black lives, and those are vitally important, but it is also important for Black people to tell stories. Why do they just have to be Black stories? They can have Black characters, they can be that, but why can't you have predominantly Black science fiction or Westerns or any number of things?
Right.
It's the trying to get away from what I call the white male avatar.
Yeah.
Tarzan being the best example of that.
There we go.
Yeah, because I think even Muhammad Ali, with his video of him saying it's like why do white people get to tell our stories? Even Tarzan in the jungle, like why does it have to be a white guy?
Yeah, good point, eh? Really good.
Yeah. That's the structural nature of it. I see Will is constantly pointing out to me, and I'm not seeing, like I said with the police, those day-to-day things.
Right.
The things that get me are the structural built-in stuff. The fact that up until about 1975, in your Crayola crayon box, you remember this as I do, there was this color called skin tone.
Right.
And that color was like a bright pink. Yes.
Yeah.
And that structural racism.
Actually, in our series, there is one of the characters has a wooden leg, and she goes to the store to pick up a prosthetic,
and a new prosthetic leg, like
from Chicago,
1960s new.
Yes, 1960s new. So when they when the postmaster brings out the parcel and she opens it, it's
that bright pink.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And they go, oh, look at that. And she lifts up her skirt and she's got a wooden leg and she goes, no more splinters.
It's basically the stuff that's built in for us.
Yeah.
In Bullard, there are supposedly good white characters, and I wrote them very much this way. There are the obvious races, the people we know, the people who think, the people who look different and have different skin color and practice different religions are horrible, terrible people. Those are just terrible people. We write them off. It is the quote unquote well-meaning white people. If you ever want to get really, really angry, I don't say you do, but if you ever really want to get really, really angry, there's a delightful NFB 30-minute video about Africville in Nova Scotia. And this is stuff we own, because we tell ourselves the story of that we're Canadians, so we're much better than Americans. Yeah. And in fact, our racism is just a little different. It's quieter, it's politer. And if you do that, this Nova Scotia community, which was bulldozed to the ground after having been horribly treated by the white community, and you see these white voices, and they think they're actually helping, which is the sad thing. And they're saying, this Black community is a slum. The next sentence should be, so here's what we're going to do to fix it. And their next sentence is, so it's a slum, so we're going to tear it down, break up this Black community, and spread them out across the city and the province.
After we get the initial movies and television series out, this is one of the projects that I hold near and dear to my heart, because my mother, my family, my ancestors are from Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And I want to do a movie called Escape to Africville, about slaves, a small band of slaves come north to Nova Scotia using lawn jockeys as
Signposts on
signposts,
the Underground Railroad.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
And then once they get up to Africaville, then they realize or come to realize that it's just as bad as what they just left.
Well, that's a lot of what we're talking about in this spin-off story, which is called Flight Risk.
Yes.
And it's how the farther north you go, the racism is less and less obvious, but it's still there. It's just friendlier and nicer, and that's kind of what the white liberal class, of which I am acknowledging that I am a part, usually says, oh, well, these yelling people who are saying the N-word are the problem. And it's like they're a part of the problem. But when the rest of us have a Black person sit beside us on a bus and feel uncomfortable about it, that's something that we need to address. Yeah. Why am I uncomfortable because a Black person is sitting beside me as opposed to a white person?
Yeah.
Why is that in my head? Not to stigmatize it, but to say, oh, okay, because over years, somebody's told me that that's not a good thing, because I've seen images in the media and the news telling me that this Black person sitting beside me should make me uncomfortable. I need to be careful because, and then to realize how much that's built into my thinking, as opposed to if this person sitting next to me was white. What assumptions am I making, and why am I making them?
Absolutely. You know, it's kind of interesting because we're going to talk about movies, like the way movies have predicted or not depicted Black people, or like, or my thought also is like Indigenous people, you know, cops and robbers, cops and Indians, right? The cops were always white and the good guys, right?
That's right.
That's the whole premise for the prejudices with anybody who is not this skin tone.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the most famous movies in American cinema is Birth of a Nation from D.W. Griffiths. Like in the silent era, it was one of the first great blockbuster movies. And it's about the rise and the history of the Ku Klux Klan. Right. And it is full of racism. And it's a sort of project on the back burner that we're kind of thinking about, I've been toying with for a while, is what was the reaction to that movie? Because it changed America in the early 20th century. It was an amazing movie. People lined up in their thousands to see it. And it was full of such blatant and absolute racism. It is breathtaking to watch today. Right. The Ku Klux Klan did not burn crosses. They did not do that historically. That was not part of their thing. They got that idea from the movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Basically, somebody on the D.W. Griffiths making the movie thought, well, the crosses are good. Let's set them on fire. Yeah. And then the Klansmen saw that and thought, oh, that's a good idea. And we really don't want to give them good ideas.
No, right.
The Klan has a huge mystique and secret brotherhood terror organization vibe to it. And they're really not, you know, it can be creepy, but I've seen, unfortunately, as part of the research of this, have sat through watching Klan rituals and Klan ceremonies on videotape. And they just look stupid. they look silly. Right. They look like kids playing dress up. Yeah. And if you bring that mysterious, scary thing to light, it just looks kind of silly.
Good point. I like that. You know, it's interesting because again, I heard, I can't remember who said it, but like for the U.S., like they have to remember that United States was built on the backs of Black slaves.
That's right.
Black slaves, Chinese railroaders, Indigenous again.
Yeah.
The decimation of Indigenous communities. I mean, the story we've been telling, the white community's been telling ourselves for the last couple of 100 years is basically a myth. And I'm being kind, calling it a myth. It's a lie that was put out there to make the people doing the murdering feel better.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that we are going to do, bring truth to light.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
I love that statement. Let's just stop it there because that's just a perfect place to stop it. So I just want to thank you both for coming back on the show.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Stay on camera, okay? So I just want to remind everybody, to the audience, you've been listening to Will Williams and Steve Weller with their project that is moving forward. It is very exciting, and I think that I'm speaking to white people here, that I hope you get to hear and see more of this because it is important. We have to make the difference, us. Thank you, everybody, for watching the show. Take care, and I hope you continue to watch. And peace out, everybody.
Peace.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.